This conflict has been ongoing for over a month, and the Strait of Hormuz remains effectively closed. At this deadlock, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan traveled to Qatar in the last week of March 2026. But the fact that Turkish and regional energy officials are at the table is the clearest indication of the practical feasibility of this massive plan stretching from the Gulf to Europe. The foundations of this project were actually laid in 2009 between Qatar and Turkey, but it was postponed due to the Syrian war that erupted in 2011. Now, with Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz, it has become a necessity. This multi-billion-dollar project's heart beats in the North Dome field, which holds the world's largest natural gas reserve owned by Qatar. The goal is to transport this massive resource, approximately 900 trillion cubic feet, directly to Europe by bypassing the Strait of Hormuz. Designed with an annual capacity of 30 to 40 billion cubic meters, this pipeline has the potential to single-handedly meet 10% of Europe's total gas demand. The route spans 5 countries and a challenging terrain of approximately 2,000 kilometers. The journey begins at Qatar's Ras Laffan terminal, the world's largest LNG export facility. From there, the pipeline crosses the waters of the Persian Gulf to reach Saudi Arabia, where it is planned to traverse vast deserts for approximately 800 kilometers. It then turns north toward Jordan. After traversing Jordan from end to end, it extends into Syria's western corridor, where new dynamics are taking shape. The most critical stop on this long and arduous journey is undoubtedly Turkey. Designed to enter via the Kilis-Gaziantep route, this massive energy artery has the potential to integrate directly into the existing TANAP network here. The ultimate goal is clearly defined: to breathe life into the energy-starved European market by crossing the Greek border via Turkey. Understanding the continent's current situation also explains why this project is so critical right now. On the European side, the situation goes far beyond a simple energy supply issue. It is moving toward a full-blown existential crisis. The continent had already shifted away from Russian gas to liquefied natural gas, LNG, to a large extent in 2022, following the war in Ukraine. New terminals worth billions of euros were built, and new agreements were signed. However, now that very reliable LNG route is also taking a heavy blow due to the Hormuz crisis and escalating tensions in the Middle East. Europe's energy security is effectively facing the risk of collapse twice within 4 years. The industrial consequences of this dual crisis could be extremely negative for the continent. As gas prices fluctuate on global markets, abandoned the Gulf route, and spot market prices have surged to the $600 to $700 range. Europe's green transition goals are also taking a hit from this crisis. This is precisely where the Qatar-Turkey pipeline could serve as a lifeline for Europe. And the most critical part of this equation is this: this gas does not pass through the Strait of Hormuz, which is under the shadow of war, nor through Russian pipelines controlled by Moscow. If realized, it would be a completely different, relatively risk-free, secure corridor traveling overland through Turkey. However, there are obstacles to overcome before this engineering marvel on the table can be realized. Desert regions, mountainous terrain, and active seismic fault lines present serious geological challenges. Furthermore, Syria's still unstable political landscape and the asymmetric threats Iran could unleash through its proxy forces in the region rank among the most complex variables in the equation. Yet, it is precisely at this juncture that Turkey's military and diplomatic clout holds the potential to come into play. The comprehensive air defense networks established, cross-border military deterrence, and strategic relationships built with the new Syrian administration possess the capacity to minimize these risks. Ankara's security umbrella in the region could serve as a shield protecting not only its borders, but also the heart of this massive energy corridor. According to open-source data and financial intelligence reports, the cost of this project is expected to exceed $10 billion. Meeting such a massive financial burden does not appear feasible through a routine investment move. However, the geopolitical gains on the table and the leverage effect provided by energy supply security carry such significant strategic weight that they overshadow this engineering bill. It is at this point that the biggest players in the financial world begin to step onto the stage. There is a very critical detail that has not escaped the attention of OSINT analysts and economic correspondents. The closed-door meeting in March between Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest asset management firm managing over $10 trillion in assets, and President Erdogan. The fact that Turkey's energy officials also attended this meeting serves as the strongest evidence that the agenda on the table was not a routine portfolio investment. The presence of global giants like BlackRock at such strategic tables is interpreted as a serious signal of financing for high-risk but high-return mega-energy infrastructure projects. The urgency created by the Hormuz crisis has elevated this project's potential returns in the eyes of global capital to an unprecedented level. Moreover, the vision may not be limited to gas alone. Analysts point out that once constructed, this corridor could be expanded to also transport Saudi and Gulf oil. Thus, not only the Strait of Hormuz, but also the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, which has become unstable due to Houthi attacks, would be bypassed. An infrastructure initiative of this scale may explain why giants like BlackRock, which eagerly eye intergenerational investments, are at the table. While costs for liquefaction, maritime transport, and regasification remain high in the LNG supply chain, the pipeline will significantly reduce these expenses. Under current conditions, this shift would save Europe and Qatar approximately $2.5 to $4 billion annually in transportation and shipping costs. During crises, such as the closure of the Strait of Hormuz or high vessel charter rates, the savings could increase even further. The same capacity will also provide significant relief for LNG tankers. Transporting approximately 35 billion cubic meters of gas by sea requires an average of 200. Europe's stockpiles are struggling to hold at critical levels. Germany's massive chemical sector, Italy's energy-intensive ceramics industry, and Eastern Europe's vital heating infrastructure are all dependent on uninterrupted and affordable gas supplies. And right now, that reliable gas flow is under serious threat. If these sectors grind to a halt, a domino effect is inevitable. Factory closures, rising unemployment, and disruptions in supply chains could shake the entire European economy. The continent's problem isn't just today's supply crunch. Europe had built its long-term energy planning around LNG. Terminals, storage facilities, and long-term purchase agreements were all designed with maritime transport in mind. The reality revealed by the Hormuz crisis is this: the closure of a single strait can render all this planning obsolete. Insurance premiums for LNG tankers have skyrocketed. Some carriers have completely